because I used to have the white gloves that I would wear, but I wore those.
I remember all too well.
So, but I now have those, but I also have like real hardcore winter gloves and winter jacket and everything. But so I'll tell you, let me do the intro right now. And this is the Dave Beam is a C-List Actor Zoomcast with my very special guest today, actor, producer, stage director, and host. This is Robert Dominick Jones. Welcome, Bob. I can still call you Bob, even though we're on TV here, Bob.
Yeah, I think we could be casual. I think we've known each other long enough. Bob is fine.
Okay. I just want to be sure. I don't want your reps to get upset or anything like that.
I don't stand on ceremony, Dave.
No, you do. Well, so I've seen you stand on ceremony sometimes.
Occasionally.
Okay.
After a cocktail or two, I'm good at standing on ceremony.
Standing and then sitting on ceremony. So let me ask you something so we can, and obviously to anybody watching or listening, Bob and I definitely know each other. For transparency's sake, we were or are or will continue to be or once were production partners for a number of years, and produced episodic television and also or episodic, I guess am I old if I still say television, episodic streaming series, and then also a film that we did together.
Yes. And we had a few also in pre-production that may at some point in our lives see the light of day.
Yeah, absolutely. And we obviously hope that happens. Do you recall, Bob, when you and I first met? What was your recollection of how that happened?
Okay, so we were working on one of those crime TV shows that should remain unnamed.
Right.
So I was playing a lead detective.
Right.
And I was working, I think I had a week on that. And you brought in, I don't know if you had a day or two.
Right.
You were the CSI photographer. You were taking photos of the grisly aftermath of this murder.
Right. Right. That's it.
Right. And we got along. We started talking during breaks, during lunch. We both complained about the first AD, I think. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure you did.
I probably did. She was so mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the reasons we started talking right away on set between shots was because of the poor woman who was playing the dead body. She, God bless her, she was a trooper, a woman of a certain age, as they say.
Yes.
But it was, how hot was it out there that day, Bob?
We were up in the hills of Topanga Canyon.
Right.
It must have been 110. Easy 110. I'm in a suit.
Yeah.
This poor woman, I don't know how old she was, but she was an elderly actress, wonderful actress, beautiful person. She was splayed out on the ground.
Right.
Half dressed with blood makeup on, beaten, and there were flies hovering over her.
Oh my, yeah.
And it was just, and she'd take after take.
Take after take after take.
She was just wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think later that week, she was walking to her car and she got bit by a dog.
Oh no, that's a rough week at the office.
Because we were on location, and I guess renting a few homes, and she was, you shouldn't be laughing, I'm laughing. And,
no. Well, you know what they say, comedy is tragedy plus time.
There you go.
Right.
And the timing, when she came back the next day, they didn't need to do makeup. She had her bandages already.
For real, and she could
just rip the bandages off to make it look like she was beaten.
Yeah. And I'm sure Kaiser Emergency Room got a little credit for.
And they did take her to. I think it was Kaiser.
I think it was. That would have been the closest place.
Yeah.
Notice, I don't know if what it says about me and my career with either on-set injuries or baseball injuries that I pretty much, if you tell me any place in LA, I can tell you what the closest emergency room is.
Yeah, you jumped on that pretty quickly. You knew
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
No, I know.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, so that was true. Then yeah, you and I got along like gangbusters, and before too long, we started a production company and put together our shows. So that's more recent. Let's take a trip back now to early Bob Jones, early young Robert Dominick Jones days back there in Brooklyn, New York, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
What
I'll
what
give you the
what
background.
Yeah, well, I want to know because you and I, we shoot the shit so much. I don't often, if we've talked about this stuff, yeah, especially because of, getting a little older, not all of it stays in my head. But what was it that they would say on another show? What was it that gave you the bug? But what was it that you saw or did, whether it be a movie or a play or a TV show, where you first looked at somebody performing and got the idea that, hey, you know what? Those folks they're pretending to do this, and that seems like it's something that I might want to do. Do you recall what that might have been and how old you were?
Yes, and I was really young. And I was having this conversation with my sister when we were visiting not too long ago. It was back in New York. Our father, I remember we were pretty young. I don't exact. So I'm going to guess that I was about 6. My sister was probably 4,
Wow.
thereabouts. And my father was so proud. He just bought this little reel-to-reel tape recorder, this Grundig, this German tape
Wow.
recorder, and he would dim the lights and read the Raven by
Right.
Edgar Allan Poe. And then he decided, well, you know what? Because the Beverly Hillbillies were the big show back then. And we loved the Beverly Hillbillies. So he goes,
Right.
we're going to, in essence, we were not knowing what improvising was. He says,
Right.
you're going to play Jethro to me. My sister
Right.
was Granny, and my father was going to do Jed.
Oh,
And he
wow.
recorded it, and we just improvised.
Wow.
We did this
Wow.
thing. So we were really young. And then moving on a few years, the Beatles were like such a big part of our lives.
Right.
My friends and my cousin, we built a little stage and we made these, fake little guitars, and we would just do sing-alongs.
Right. Right.
Like
That's
I
great.
was John, doing the thing. And
Oh,
then
of course you were.
me and my cousin Kate, we used to do bits from the movie, from the TV show Get Smart. I was
Yeah. Oh, great.
Maxwell
Mel,
Smart.
Mel Brooks and Buck Henry
Yes,
responsible for that. That's great.
Don Adams and
Yes. Barbara Feldon.
Robert Feldon as Agent 99, and my
Yeah.
cousin would play her, and I would, be Maxwell Smart. Would
Yeah.
you believe?
The old bug in the rug trick.
Yes, Chief. So, and I would do that, and I don't know how old we were, maybe 12, something like that.
Yeah.
And then, in high school, I did all the plays in high school.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember anyone in particular that you really kind of made an impact, or were you?
Yes, we were in a one-act play competition, and I was a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
And the director was really artistic and decided, well, we're not going to use the proscenium. We're not going to use the stage. We're going to do scenes with father and son confrontations. You got to remember, this was late 60s, the racial gap was big, and father and son confrontations were big.
Sure.
Did scenes from like All My Sons, Tea and Sympathy, Big Daddy and Brick from Cat on a Hot Tin Roof.
Right.
And we did all these vignettes. We did it center aisle with the house lights up. And I did my scene, was with another actor, played my father, and I did a scene from Tea and Sympathy.
Right.
And it was, I remember John Kerr. And
John Kerr and Deborah Carr
did it in the film.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know if they did it on Broadway, because I think it was a Robert or Richard Anderson play.
Right.
Anyhow, we did that, and we were sophomores, and we won.
That's great.
And then we did other high school plays, and then I saw a flyer in my high school that there was a community theater doing uh, our town.
Oh, okay. Very good. Yeah, of course.
And I went, so I was driving, so I had to be a junior because I was already driving. So I drove there an audition for it and got it.
Oh, great.
And then went on to college and, did all the plays in college. And then we had a guest, that was a speech and theater program. And we had a guest instructor who was pretty well known in the New York theater at that time as a playwright and director. And he and the famous actress Geraldine Fitzgerald from the 30s,
Oh, wow.
they
Yeah.
formed this company called the Everyman Company.
Right.
And I took his street theater class,
Right.
and he invited me to be part of the company.
Right. Right.
And the first play I did
Great.
was The Midsummer Night's Dream at BAM, at Brooklyn Academy of Music.
Right.
And
Wow.
then from there, then I was lucky. I went on auditions and I got my SAG card.
Hmm.
I was 20 at that time, and
What was it? What was the? Do you remember what it was that you got? How you got your SAG
yeah,
card?
it was a fluke. Actually, I was hired. It was an extra gig. I was in Seamus,
Right.
Burt Reynolds, and because I was an extra originally,
Mhm.
but they used me for him. He's running down a Brooklyn apartment and he leaps over, and I was a junkie, played a junkie.
Right. Right. Right.
And I got like stunt credit and other credit, and I was able, because we did the scene with a lead actor,
Right.
I was able, they gave me a contract.
Oh, wow. That's great.
And that's
Terrific.
how I got it.
Terrific.
And I remember back then, this was funny because my state from that point on, well, later it was Robert Dominick Jones, but I was always Bobby Jones, on my first resume, was Bobby
Right.
Jones.
Of course, because there's nobody else who's named Bob Jones or Bobby Jones in the world.
And back then, when you joined the union,
Yeah.
there couldn't be anyone else. So after
It's still that same way, it's only one name to a customer. There can't be any more.
Okay, so there was a Bob Jones who was an AFTRA, who was a radio guy.
Right, right.
And so I couldn't use that. And then I said, now what do I do?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but the family Italian name was DePaolo.
Right.
So you Robert DePaolo, and then I said, well, that's really Italian. At that time, there was only Pacino and De Niro, and everybody else was.
And they would have in that era, they would have said, "Oh, this guy's an Italian actor. He's only going to play mob guys."
And from early on, that's not what I wanted to do, because
right.
I trained. I wanted to do Shakespeare. I wanted to do, a wide variety of things. I didn't want to get, I was making 2 cents, but I didn't want to get pigeonholed.
Right. Of course.
So my first union card, and I still have it. I found it. It has Robert DePaul.
Oh, wow.
Capital D-E, capital P-A-U-L.
Yeah, sure. Like the school in Chicago.
Right. DePaul.
Right. Yeah. DePaul. Yeah.
That's right. So that was my first foray, and then
wow.
I used that for the first time, for the first number of years in the union.
Right.
Then I left the business for a period of time. When I came back in, I changed it. I got to use my true name, which is Robert Dominick Jones.
Right. Now, when you did that, were you already in LA when you changed it back again? Okay.
Yes.
So all right. So you're in LA, and what was what were some of your early projects that you worked on in television or film or stage in Los Angeles?
And commercials, because I did
commercials.
an Enterprise car commercial right away.
Oh, wow.
I got an agent right away when I moved in. This was 1982.
Right.
There was a gap between when I was working in New York.
Right.
In the military, all that. We'll skip ahead to 1982.
Right. Sure. Listen, life happens, and that's the thing that I think people don't realize. The folks that are again watching or listening, we all hear so much about the A-list folks, and the rest of us have, not that they don't have their full lives and things that complicate things, but for many of us, especially as you're first trying to get a foothold into this industry, it's sometimes can be, it's more than just a day job. You're trying to get your whole life established. And, yeah, it's a very, very challenging, meandering route. And I mean, you really did it because you had a family, and you're, trying to be a responsible family guy. But nonetheless, because of your tenacity and your talent, you were still able to book, roles on television,
Yeah,
film,
well,
commercial.
especially in the early 80s, I was booking
Yeah,
actually quite well. I mean, I came out here, I got an agent, career artist, I think it was.
right,
In
right.
the first week I was out here and I got to do, uh, it was another stunt thing. It was Irreconcilable Differences with
Oh wow,
Jim
Shelley
Stones,
Long.
yeah,
Is
and
Yeah.
Ian O'Neill and Drew Barrymore.
Oh wow,
She
okay.
tries to divorce her parents. That was the whole story.
That's right. Yeah.
Parents, he was a director and Shelley Long was a screenwriter or something. I forget.
Yeah.
It was a movie within the movie, and I
Right.
played. They were doing sort of a recreation of Gone with the Wind called Atlanta, and
Okay.
I
Right.
played a Civil War soldier, and because I was able to ride a horse, or at least that's what
You
I said.
said you said that. Yeah. You said
That's
that.
what I said. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
ride a horse.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
So
lots of folks from the Italian neighborhoods in Brooklyn
yeah.
who were born when you were born would ride a horse. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe.
because there were so many stable, a lot of pastures in the inner city.
Exactly. Exactly.
We were
So
riding a horse from one apartment house to the next.
yeah, I played the back end of a horse in a number of productions, but that's just, yeah, that's about it. So, but anyway, continue, please.
So I got this gig, and I'm for a week long. I'm on this horse,
Yeah,
and basically I played a Civil War soldier, and I
right.
got stunt credit for it, and rolled all.
Wow,
And that was like as soon as I moved out here, and it was fun. Then I got an Enterprise commercial.
great,
And then I
great.
got to do a show called with Mickey Rooney and
Ah,
Dana Carvey, and I had I wouldn't say recurring, but I had two episodes in it called One of the Boys, and
uh-huh.
I played the pizza delivery guy Anthony, and I had
Wow,
a couple of different episodes. Then
right,
a
right,
bunch of the stuff I did a Matt Houston. I did a show called Lottery. I think it lasted a season.
right.
Lottery with Marshall Colt. I remember the actor, the lead actor.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So Lottery, that Hotel, James Brolin did an
Wow,
episode
yeah,
of that.
yeah.
So I was doing fairly well.
So
And
I mean, yeah, you kind of, it's not, we know the Sturm and the Drang and the angst that you go through to get these roles and everything. But when you look back at your body of work, it's pretty significant. Um, and then, but you still kind of, through the years, and just kind of up, bringing it up to date a little bit. I mean, in relatively recent times, I mean, you've worked with like Shonda Rhimes on
I
one
was
of her
fortunate.
shows,
Yes, I was
you know?
fortunate to work two of her shows. I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
fortunate enough to do the Station 19, and,
right.
uh, and then the other one with the lawyers. What it was called?
Yeah, I can't quite remember that, but you did it. This is us, the
This Is
that,
Us.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, the
done
huge
in
hit on
This Is Us. A couple
NBC.
days on that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
So you
that's, I mean, that's pretty remarkable when you look from end to end about your career, that you're just, it's just so many meaty roles. Now you also have been involved very much in the Los Angeles theater community, because I know I went, and I remember how impressed I was, and I have zero reason to ever, blow smoke anywhere around here,
Mhm.
let alone up anything. But uh, I saw that production that you did in a play that you directed in North Hollywood that involved like a multimedia. I remember a screen coming down, and you, in addition to the the actors on stage that you directed, you also created this film that was
There
used
were
as
there were
part of
like
that.
five film vignettes that went throughout that mostly gave the backstory of the play. It was called, the name of the play was all new people. It was Zach Braff wrote it, and we did
Oh,
the
wow.
West Coast premiere of it. And I
Yeah.
got to direct it, and basically I was one of the producers too. I
Yeah.
found, it was a small production, but it was a real, very, very talented cast.
Right.
And, that was a gas. I mean, I enjoyed that was one of the second or third pieces I directed in LA, and I really I really liked it. It
Yeah.
was a lot of fun, and it was challenging
Yeah.
because you're wearing so many hats.
Yeah.
And LA theater, to sell ticket, you have to do everything. You
Yeah.
have to,
Yeah.
you have to be the ticket salesperson. You have to be you have to handle so many different things, but it's so rewarding because it turned out so well, and people were so gracious who came to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
So it was great.
Yeah, it was a great experience. And of course, both you and I have had, whereas I haven't had that experience in the theater wearing all those hats. But in film and television, you and I wore just about every single hat that one could possibly have. For our show, Mrs. Fitzgerald is missing. Where this is early. It seems now kind of strange. Early days of streaming. Like maybe 8 to 10 years ago.
It's kind of amazing when occasionally a still will pop up that somebody posted on Facebook.
Yeah,
Says memory from 8 years ago. Oh my goodness.
yeah. It flies, but we kind of felt a little bit like we were trailblazers, but we put together this show, and you and I literally did. We were like the heads of every single department that exists on a film or a TV set. And at least if we didn't know how to do it, we were able to hire the people that could do it. But we ordered the catering. We fed the
Crafty and catering and locations.
yeah.
We wore many, many hats, but here's the thing. We had a great crew.
Yes.
Everybody from above the line actors to all of our our filming crew, our sound crew, our post crew.
Yeah.
They were so committed to this project, and
Yeah.
it was really a labor of love. And
Yeah. Everybody came through for us. But I think we picked the right people. I think between you and me, I'll have to say, in all due modesty for the both of us, our bullshit detectors are pretty set, pretty finely, so we can pretty much tell, except with a couple,
here's a story. I mean, Dave, you were a fantastic director on that project. You really were. And when it came to post-production, boy, those poor editors. You wrote them. I would be in my car. I was dating someone at the time, and I get a phone call. I fired the editor. And then 2 weeks later, I get another phone call. I fired that editor. I said, what are we going to do? Thank God for our original editor from season 1 was available.
Right.
Oh, God love Paul, because he really put it together.
Yes, Paul Summers, who was our original editor, and then he moved on to different projects, and we brought in a few other editors. But in the end, we just had to have somebody come back in and help us out to get where we needed to go. And so I remember calling Paul and saying, Paul, do you know anybody who might be, and he said, I've got the time, I'll do it. And I'm like, thank you, God, thank you. And
I was so relieved when you called me and said Paul's on board again. So
absolutely. And plus, sitting in with him in the editing bay was, creative and so much fun. It's amazing that we able, with all of our side conversations, and all the other things that Paul was involved in, and everything that
his other life and his But here's the thing: he was so good, and he could like read your mind. He knew what you wanted, and he could deliver it.
Right.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things that I remember, because he thankfully didn't always stay in his lane, and he said to me as we were wrapping up the first season, I think I was at his house and I saw that he had a box and it was a drone in the box, and it was again early days of drone being available to filmmakers. And
Wow.
I said, "Oh, you got yourself a drone? That's cool." And he said, "Yeah, if you ever want me to shoot a scene for you for the show, let me know, because And I thought immediately, I said, "Are you kidding me? On our budget, somebody's volunteering to film something using a drone where up to that point, you had to hire a helicopter if you wanted to get an overhead shot." He went out to the freeway there, the 14 freeway, and the whatever that, and I said, all I need that would really make it's the closing shot of episode 4,
Mm-hmm.
or we can talk about that. Episode 4, the closing shot. I just want a shot of the freeway and all the traffic as Nurse Jackie is taking Mrs. Fitzgerald away on the freeway, and he got that great drone shot, and that's the shot that's in there. But speaking of that episode, so think about episode 4, Mrs. Fitzgerald. You and the great actor, and I just saw him in a terrific commercial the other day. Ozzy Rodriguez.
I've seen he's been doing a lot of commercials, and he's so wonderful.
Yeah, he 100%. He's just great. But we were shooting out at a house in Tarzana. Who knows in LA? I don't even remember what season it was, but it was about 105 degrees out easily. You two doing essentially a two-hander. The whole day is just the two of you playing angry cops, bumping heads at a table. No, we couldn't put any canopy overhead. And you guys all in the dialogue, I wrote it. It was the clunkiest, chunkiest.
But I will say that day may have been one of my favorite days ever as an actor.
Yeah. Why would that be?
We were working. Now we had a table read because we knew it was a big scene.
Yeah.
And it was an important scene. I'm meeting this guy for the first time, and it's like he's shaking me down.
Yeah.
I'm shaking down Alex Miggs. You can't do that. I'm a cop, he's a low-level cop. I'm a detective, but he's gangster, and I have to be gangster. And we're cops.
Right.
You want cops. And, we read it a few times, like in the table read, and, you're just feeling each other out, seeing more, doing it to see how the words are coming to me. All right, do I have this in my bones yet? But when we did it, the heat, with all the heat, and the crew, they were fantastic. And the two other actors who were part of his quote.
Right, his crew.
Oh my God, it was so like things were just coming, talk about working in the moment, which we, and that's what we try to do as actors, is live in the moment. Well,
right.
It was, we went at each other. It was a great tennis match.
Yep, absolutely.
It was.
Yeah, it was, and as I'm sitting there, I didn't have to look on the monitor because we were in such a confined space. So I'm watching you guys, and it's like this stage play, and you guys were just locked in and hammering one another. And it's one of my favorite scenes that I've ever had the privilege of working on, and to watch you two guys going at it, Bob. Just incredible. To this day, when I don't time travel a whole lot and look at a whole lot of stuff that I've directed or even acted in. I really don't. But every now and again, when I want to get like a fix of like, let's see, you know what? I participated as a director, but what the best part of working on a scene like that is, as a director, you're like, okay, I can just say action and kick back, and you guys just do your thing. And you guys did your thing, and it's one of my favorite scenes. And then one of my other favorite scenes, that's one of them. And the other favorite scene, and you know what I'm going to say here, it's the last it's episode 8 essentially. But
Yes.
yeah, but it's
I,
the
I,
final
I,
episode. You
it's hard
you
for me to watch that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know?
Well, it's hard for you to watch that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh, I wish I were prettier, damn it.
Oh well, come on now. We all do. But you listen. You were a courageous actor. We won't go into complete detail about it, but you were acting with a fabulous actor named Pearl Wu, who she came ready as they loaded for bear. There was no, we all had to. I had met Pearl on the lot at Universal Studios, and I thought she'd be right for this role. And it required that she be totally uninhibited and open, but yet command the conversation. And the conversation that she had, which was amazing, she went back and forth between being tender with you, tender and loving with you, but
Right.
with the other actor in the scene. And when I say the other actor in the scene, I am talking about Megan Reinking,
Oh
who
my God.
was who was from. We're talking about you talk about a great actress, whatever. Megan Reinking from Boardwalk Empire
In Broadway, I mean, her Broadway
and
career.
Broadway Hair and other productions. And the volley between Pearl and Megs and their bumping heads. I just sat back and said, you know what? And I still have people who come up to me and will say, wow, Dave, that was, good job. And I'm like, all I did was say action, and all I did was say cut a couple of times. Didn't need it to be done any more than that with you, Bob, or with Pearl, or with Megan, because I was a fan at that point. I'm like, look at the gift these guys gave me. And that's really what a director looks for in his or her wildest dreams, is that you can just say action and know what it's just have you guys take the ball and run with it. And you guys ran. There was touchdowns left and right on that scene, and many, many other scenes, of course, during the shooting.
Working with Megan, from the beginning,
She was your
her and
partner,
I,
yeah. Yeah.
she was my accomplice
Yes.
throughout, and every the the first episode of season 2, which would be what, episode 5,
Right. Right. If it is one.
when we're in the parking, doing the scene in the parking garage.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, it was so good. She was just.
It was
my face.
That was it. When she gets up, you're terrorizing this poor girl, and
you think you could get away from me? Just going after her. She's just.
And then she stands up, and you think she's bound with the rope, and she literally just takes the rope off as she's walking by you to go corral Mrs. Fitzgerald. Just tosses it at you as if to say, you thought you had me. You didn't have me.
You never had me.
You never had me.
You never had me.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then thank you for all that wonderful work that you did on that show. And then we also did a film that you wrote with a writing partner, and also produced it and also co-starred in this. It's called Footsteps. And I directed it, but how did that come about?
Well, I was walking my dog. That's back when I was in Lomita. I was walking my dog, and I was under the influence of the devil's weed at the time. And
I don't understand what that means, but I'll guess that many of our audience members do. So.
And all of a sudden, some dialogue came in my head.
Right.
It's all about hashtags. Hashtag, what are you talking about? Hashtags, No, I don't know. What's hashtags? The things that are on social media. What are you talking about? And it just, this dialogue just poured out of me. As I was walking, and I'm thinking this, I'm saying, oh my God, I got to get home. Hurry up, dog, go. Go to the bathroom quickly,
Right.
And then I'm running home trying to remember what the dialogue was, and I'm
right, right,
typing it out,
But that,
typing it out.
but that was, I mean, that's pretty comedic, entertaining dialogue, which is great.
That's all it was at that
Right,
time.
right, right.
Yeah.
But you found a way as you wrote the script to incorporate that almost as a way, almost as levity inside of a very, very serious
Yes.
story. And what was that story?
Well, the story was the horrors of war, what it can do, how it can split families, PTSD. You know, it's a father and son story, which
Yeah,
is, you know, it, it meant so much to me to write this.
yeah,
Uh, you know, it was a short film, but yet we had to pack a lot in.
yeah,
And
yeah.
we had to get the horrors of war without really showing war, just the after effects,
Right,
just what it can do to people.
right,
And we had generations of soldiers. We had
right,
young Tom, who is a Gulf War veteran, who is suffering from PTSD. We
right,
had his dad, Jerry, who was a Vietnam vet.
right,
And we had the other vets.
yeah,
I played one, and Paul Arnold
right,
played the other vet at the bar. And we were able, this really helped this, you know, filming it in the American Legion was
yeah,
just perfect. And
oh
we had
yeah,
a crew that we've used,
yep,
and we added to it, and everybody was so dedicated to it.
yeah, yeah. And so some of those actors that we had involved in there, you mentioned obviously you were in there and you were terrific. You and Paul and you guys are at the bar at this
Right.
bar, and then Brian Cutler, who was playing, you know, our Vietnam veteran. And Brian, what was he was just a guy who's been acting forever and ever. But the
He
hit show
started
that,
his career in Bye Bye Birdie, the
oh
movie.
my goodness, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And was he in, what was it, ISIS, the TV show ISIS that he
Uh,
was in, or
yes,
a show like that
yes,
back back
in
in
the
the day, as
70s.
they say?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
like a Saturday morning, The Curse of Isis or The Secret of Isis. I think it was The
something
Secret
like
of
that.
Isis.
Yeah,
It's like a Saturday morning show. He was on
yeah,
it for a number of seasons. You know,
yeah.
he worked every TV show that was out in the
Right,
60s and 70s,
right,
and
right,
then became a teacher. He moved to Kansas City and was
right,
part of the Missouri Rap Theater,
right,
and doing a
right.
lot of theater, and then became a teacher. And then
Yeah,
I had the, you know, he brought me in, and I was his assistant. I was a teacher with him, and we
yeah,
both
yeah,
taught, and we utilized a lot of our students in this production.
yeah, yeah. Which is, yeah, that's one of the great things. Now, did you, and do you enjoy teaching acting?
Yes, very much so. I mean, I have, you know, I don't want to ever compare this technique or that technique. You know,
Right,
everybody does what works for them.
right,
Uh, I have a problem with teachers who charge too much, who make it more mystical than it needs to be.
right,
You know, I'm of the old James Cagney, you know, hit your mark, look the other actor in the eye, and tell them the truth.
right, right,
Keep it
right.
simple,
Yep,
clear your head, be
yep,
in a mind space where the unconscious could come through, and
right,
don't pre-plan anything. Learn the
right,
words, learn them so you don't ever have to think about them.
right,
They're
right.
so in your bones. And
Yep,
then when you're on the set, you know where your mark is. They'll tell you. It's
yep,
just flip on the ground. You know
yep,
where the camera's going to be. Here's the other actor. Here's the character. Who, what, where, and why is all you need to know for your character in the space.
right,
Do it. Let the unconscious do work.
yeah,
Don't
yeah,
overthink it.
right,
Especially if you're a co-star guest star where you don't really have time to get into backstories and all
right.
that stuff that they teach you in acting school.
Right, right,
You
right.
know,
And,
so
and to that end, Bob, so let me ask you this, because I have to tell you quite honestly that this information came to me quite late in my acting career about the specific differentiation between, obviously, we know who the star of a team, we'll talk, this is about television now.
mhm.
Um, you've got your stars of the show. Then you have the guest stars, and they're likely to be people that we've seen on other shows or movies. Their
Yeah, they call
faces
them
are
like
like,
special guest stars
yeah,
now.
yeah, exactly. But their faces that we likely know, we may not know their names, maybe we do, but we know their faces. And then there's the co-stars, which sounds like it would be, a pretty highfalutin title, but in reality, I believe that the co-stars are what they would have called back in the 1950s a walk-on role or
A
an
day
under
player,
a
like
day
a day
player, an
player,
under five
an
sort of a
under
thing.
five,
Help
pretty
help
much.
help 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 us understand what the differences are between. Obviously, we know what the star is, but between a guest star and a co-star.
Well, a co-star could be anyone with 2 or 3 lines. It could be the doorman, on a TV show. Have a nice day, man. Or
Right,
cab driver. Where you going?
right,
It could be just something as simple as that, or it could be uh, more leading into the story. Those other
right,
kind of roles, get co-star roles, they don't move the story along. Now, a guest star definitely moves the story along. Or the
right,
story may, if it's a killer, if it's a crime drama, or a cop, or a victim, those guest star roles move the story along, or the story could be about them. And then
right.
you have the special guest star, which could be a name actor that
Right. Like when Meryl Streep, which I really admire about her, and how lucky those shows have been. When Meryl Streep decides that she likes a TV show, she's not shy in making a call and saying, "Hey, can you got a guest spot open for me?" I mean, who is going to say no to that? And all of a sudden you've got
that
Meryl Streep
yeah,
on your show as a special guest star.
yeah, and it may be like a recurring.
Right.
We used to call recurring
Yep.
couple of episodes, not every episode in the season, but a couple.
Right.
So and then you have like the two Shonda shows that I work with. A lot of they had big ensemble casts,
Right.
but
Right.
not everyone in those casts were considered series regulars.
Right.
They, even if they had a bit in every episode, they weren't a series regular until they reached that status.
Right. Right.
And I had, when I did that, boy, I can't believe I can't forget the name.
That's
Whatever.
that's I think, as they say, if I'll find it and we'll put it in the show notes
Yeah, you
on
can
the page.
put it underneath me.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Uh,
We'll have a link. We'll have links to your IMDb page, of course. So.
Yeah. So anyway, my friend Lisa, we both got hired on the same day. I played an attorney, and I had two really good scenes.
Mm-hmm.
One in the courtroom, and then it was a civil case, and then dealing with one of the leads in the show,
Right.
making a deal. And my friend Lisa played the judge, and she was hired on for the whole season.
Right. Wow. Wow. Good
And
for her.
she only had dialogue in the
Yeah.
last 2 episodes.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
she was, I think they used two different judges because it was a
Yeah.
crime drama throughout the whole season. And
Yeah.
it was her or someone else, and they went back and forth.
Right. Right.
But she was just co-star. She had co-star status throughout the whole
But
season.
it was steady work, though, and
It was
that is,
steady work.
let me
And
tell
you
you,
know,
that is the blessing. Is, I mean, I've spent the bulk of my career literally a day here, a day there, a day here, a day there, a day here, a day there, 2 days here or there. And maybe if I was lucky and to title drop a little bit, like on a movie like Moneyball, where, I ended up working all summer long. And I mean, none of my dialogue ended up in the film, but I throughout the film, but more importantly to me, as somebody who was trying to, pay the bills, get the rent paid, I at least knew that from July 5th, I remember the date specifically, July 5th, because it was the day after July 4th. Amazing. He knows his calendar. But right after the holiday, our shooting began, at least for my stuff, and it went through Labor Day. One of the very few times, other than probably the shows that you and I produced, Bob, that was one of the very few times where I said, you know what? For for 2 months straight, I'm getting a paycheck and I can, fill up that grocery cart and the rent's going to get paid. And, so I appreciate, and it would have been great, as it always would be. As an actor, you want more and more things to do. I want to have more responsibility. Let me, but in that moment, I was felt very blessed that I had work every week throughout the summertime. So
Well,
doesn't happen a lot. And that's more the normal story.
that is not the normal story. I mean, most actors are happy to get if you think about what an actor has to do to get one line,
Yeah, yeah,
one line,
yeah.
it's, what I call the civilians, those that are not in the business,
Right,
they have
right.
no
Yeah,
idea what the process, the audition process. Now it's, in a way, I know a lot of actors don't like the self-tape
right,
world we live in
right.
now. That,
Yeah.
you know,
I'm one of them. I'm one of them. I don't care for it at all, but
I
it is what it is. To quote my buddy Bob, it is what it is.
is what it is. I happen to like it because I can knock it out uh, very easily.
Yep, yep,
And I will do take after take after take. You don't get the luxury in the room. You get maybe
yep,
one or two, uh, but at least you do it. The
yep.
problem is the numbers of actors for that one line have
Right,
gone
right.
from seeing casting people have gone from seeing maybe 25
In person,
to 2,500.
right? Which, because of
Just
course,
going through thumbnails and
yeah.
flipping.
Yeah, yeah. But this is also one of the reasons. I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword, Bob, is that everything going digital, and now, I mean, both Bob and I have been around long enough where things were shot on film. They took very long, lots and lots of lights, and you didn't want to blow a take because you were wasting film. And now, of course, with things being shot mostly digitally, unless you're Quentin Tarantino or Marty Scorsese or something like that. You shoot it digitally. But when both Bob and I moved or were started in the film and television industry, there was only one place you could live, and that was Los Angeles.
Right.
And so Bob hightailed it out there from Brooklyn. I hightailed it and got off the bus in Hollywood from Detroit, and that was the only place to be. But now that everything's gone digital, well, yeah, I'm not crazy about the self tapes and submitting them online and everything like that. But what it has allowed in more recent times for someone like a Robert Dominick Jones and someone like me to do is to then say, you know what, as much, at least speaking for myself, and actually we've had this conversation, as much as I love Los Angeles, to quote Randy Newman there, I love LA. I lived there for 37 years. It's in my DNA. It's my hometown. But there are other places that I wanted to explore in the United States where I thought I might be able to have the kind of life that I would want to live. And one of those places was and is New Mexico. And once things opened up again, the strike, as Bob and I are filming this, the strike is still going on. When it plays, when you're watching this, it may, and I hope so, it may have already been settled. But it gave me the opportunity to then say, you don't have to live in Los Angeles anymore to be an active participant in film and television. And where would I want to go? And one of those places that was high on my list was New Mexico. So I made that happen, and that's where I'm sitting in New Mexico right now, and very pleased that I made the move, knowing that if the career is still on my side, and I anticipate it will be to a certain extent, I'll be back in LA to work, or I'll have people in LA come to New Mexico, which is a hotbed of filming, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and all those kinds of shows and things like that. And Bob, you've relocated as well.
Yes. As of June, my wife and I relocated to Las Vegas. Now she is back in LA today because she is in post production. She's a sound mixer, and there's still shows that were filmed before
Right.
the strike that she's working on. I have few
Yeah.
and far between these days, but uh, she goes back and forth. Now
Yeah.
I had since for actors it's been a tough go because we had the pandemic, which basically shut us down
Right.
for quite a while, as we know, and especially this industry in the state, well, California.
Right.
Uh, and then now we have the writer strike and now the actor strike, and it's been kind of difficult. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
only auditions I've been getting, even self tapes, are for like dinner theater in Sarasota, Florida, or a cruise doing a Little Shop of Horrors,
Right. Right. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
I had one for General Hospital, you know,
Right.
but nothing is going on. And I had commercials are still happening, and I had a commercial agent send me a request to submit myself, put a tape together, and I thought it was actually it was a live uh, in-person audition in Glendale, and
Oh
I'm
wow.
now here, and I turned
Right.
it down. I wasn't
Yeah.
going to drive 5 hours for 5 minutes, if that long, of
Right. Right.
audition, then drive five. So I declined.
Yeah. Yeah.
They weren't-
Now, of course, in the good old days, and we don't need to time tunnel too much on this though, but in the good old days, and I just read an article that reiterated what you and I both know, is that in the good old days, it might have been worth it to make that trip because if you booked in 1 year a national commercial, which at that time had a serious implication, serious money attached to it. If you booked a national commercial and maybe a guest star and or a co-star, you could buy a home in the valley and raise a family on that. You
Well, certainly in the early 80s, because I lived just on acting.
yeah, yeah,
And acting, never had a day job or anything like that.
right, right.
And, lived off that, and but now even the pricing on commercials and everything's changed. So you can't live. Certainly in Los Angeles, you can't live,
Right,
even for a
right,
national commercial,
right.
unless
So
it's
that
one of those products that go on that you're
yeah.
doing many.
Yeah, so that to me, whereas it would be a negative to me because I enjoyed living in Los Angeles, but I think the positive of this digital era where you can submit yourself uh, online is that you know great actors are not confined just to Los Angeles or New York, or Paris, or the large metropolitan communities where many of the great acting schools and theater training academies are. There's a lot of great actors in some of the small towns and villas, hamlets all over the country and all over the world, and they can now participate in the casting process. I was just listening to Alexander Payne talk about his new film. Uh, um, and he found his young co-star, and they're acting, you know, right alongside Paul Giamatti, was a high school kid who's never acted professionally before,
Wow.
but his drama teacher recommended it, and blew everybody away, and now he's got that gig. So there are positives to something like that. But now that you're firmly ensconced, situated in Las Vegas, well, I had the pleasure of kind of noodling around one day on YouTube, as I do, and I don't think I'd actually spoken with you, but all of a sudden, I am having online breakfast with Bob, and you're enjoying these wonderful, amazing breakfasts all over town. How did that get started? And tell me about this.
Okay. Well, when we moved out here, now my wife grew up here. She
Mhm.
grew up here. She left Las Vegas when she was 18 to go to Los Angeles, went to school, and then's been working in the industry ever since. Now she's back here because I decided this is where we're going to live. For whatever reason, we came to a meeting of the minds. So
Right.
this was the place. But we're out here and I'm noticing all these breakfast lunch places, just say
Right.
breakfast lunch, and they open at 6 in the morning and they close at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And when then we started going to them, my God, they're good. Oh, the pancakes, I love a good breakfast. We've had
Yes,
many together. So
absolutely.
I just got into it, and it's like, and she came up with the thing. She goes, breakfast with Bob in Las Vegas. And I'm thinking,
Hmm,
nothing else is going on creatively in my life.
right.
How about we film these? And
Yep.
we did microphone. We just took out the camera,
Yep.
or our phone, I should say.
That's all you need these days.
Yeah, and that's how the first one happened. And now we just uploaded our 28th today.
Amazing. 28 episodes of
28.
Breakfast with Bob.
Yes, we have
That's
some shorts and under 60-second for YouTube.
sure. Yep.
We call the full episode, which never goes more than, I think 7 was our longest.
Yeah,
And
7
we
minutes.
hit all of these mom and pop, independent, off the strip, because we want to highlight these other cool restaurants, not the strip. Everybody comes to Vegas, they go to the strip, the
Right.
glitz, the glamour, but they don't go into where people live, where the locals
Right.
go. And
Right.
some of these places are off the beaten path. I call them hidden gems. They're wonderful. And that's what I'm highlighting. And,
Right.
our production value is getting a little better,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
getting better and better.
Oh,
And
yeah.
my daughter's trying to tell me to put some of the short ones on TikTok. I don't know anything about TikTok, but
You just find all the kids are on TikTok.
these kids at their TikTok. So I'm learning all about how to move or get more viewers and more subscribers,
Yeah.
and all that, and learning the whole thing, watching a lot of YouTube videos to enhance
Sure.
my YouTubes. So
Sure.
it's becoming very creative and a lot of fun. So
That's great.
that's what I'm doing during this strike.
That's hey, it's a very worthwhile venture. It's very entertaining. I think you're right in the pocket in terms of the duration of the show, because I'll watch it and then I'm little, because to me breakfast has always been the most important meal of the day, and
Absolutely.
and it's not unusual for me to have more than one breakfast in a day. Confession. But yeah, you've introduced me to a number of places, and I know that the next time I come out and visit you and your lovely wife, I'm going to insist that you guys take me to a couple of those places for sure. Because yeah,
Well, that's a definite. My,
yeah.
my daughter and her girlfriend were out. They're out this weekend because her girlfriend's parents live literally 10 minutes from them.
Oh, great, all in the family.
And I
So
took them to one of the places that
yeah,
I said, all right, you've seen the episodes. You could
right.
pick which one would you go to? And that's what we did.
Hey, how many dads can say, you've seen my episodes of my shows, of my restaurant review shows. Which one of these? That's there's a value add for a dad showing the kid around town. But that's terrific. Is there anything else? I know these are hard questions because I'm like, I don't know. Anything else in the pipeline right now that you're
Um,
entertaining, other than of course the projects that we still hope to do once
yes,
things
I
get
still have great hope for Valediction because it did
right? Our
great
movie,
and a great story.
yeah.
I would
Thank
really love, but got to come up with somebody with some money. And I think I'm probably, if if get some A-listers to buy it and produce it, not gladly.
Right, and that's actually a whole other show for another day. Is how these things
Right,
go from script to screen. Not that hasn't been covered
right.
before, but being knee deep in that experience,
But as far as the creative now, one of the episodes on Breakfast with Bob in Las Vegas we did was I cooked a recipe that was my grandmother's.
oh wow,
Called Eggs in Purgatory, Ova in Purgatorio in Italian.
yeah, ah,
And I did it and we shot it and I think it turned out pretty well. And we put
wow,
it out. And I wouldn't mind doing some more of the cooking things. I won't wear the glasses. I don't want people to think, oh, boy, he's just doing the Stanley Tucci ripoff.
Hey,
So
you're not the
the
you're not
glasses
the
will be off, and I'll be a
you're
man.
not the only bald guy with glasses, Bob. You know, we
Yeah,
all at a certain point. But
yeah, a certain age, certain point, but
yeah,
I'll take them off, and I'll look like a cop trying to cook.
yeah, no.
It's
That
tough,
that
tough.
Hey, listen, it's you being you. So who knows? Maybe you're a Julia Child. You know, did you ever see that show on Hulu called The Bear?
Oh yes, fantastic,
Fabulous, fabulous show.
fantastic.
Wonderful. Jeremy Allen White and company. Not to diminish the rest of the
They're,
players here.
they're all great. It took me an episode or two because it's very frenetic. I mean, it's like really boom, boom, boom. So you
It's its
got to
own
be ready
deal.
for it because it
Yeah,
hits you like you're in the ring and you got to like stay with it because
yeah,
so much is going on.
yeah. I've watched each season in its entirety a couple of times. I just don't get tired of
Yeah,
watching
he's really
those.
good. Really
Yeah,
good.
it's a great show.
Well,
Well, speaking of great shows and great episodes, this was one of those great episodes, Bob, because you spent some time with me and shared some of your wisdom and your knowledge and your history as an actor and a producer. And I want to thank you very, very much for spending this time with me. I know we're old pals, but I got to tell you, Bob, I genuinely, as you know, I've gotten so much out of knowing you and being your pal all over the years, both professionally and personally. So thank you so much for that. You know, and thank you so much for being with us. And for everybody here at the Dave Bean is a C-List Actor Zoomcast, and by everybody I mean me. Thank you, folks, for watching and listening. And once again, thank you, Bob. And of course, we're going to have Bob on again. This is Robert Dominick Jones. Find your YouTube channel, Bob. Is it your name or is it Breakfast with Bob?
It's Breakfast with Bob in Las Vegas.
Breakfast with Bob in Las Vegas. Watch them. They're fun. They're fun episodes.
They're quick.
Yeah, quick hits. But anyway, thanks, Bob. And you and I know, as my eyes are wandering down, because this is a Zoomcast, so I'm looking where are my Zoom buttons? And okay, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Thanks again, Bob.
All right, good day.
Take care.